right. Welcome, everyone. This is another episode of the Go-to-Market Kickback, the number one go-to-market interview, leadership, and strategy podcast in the world. Really great to have you on. Just quick context. Noah is the CEO and co-founder of Quantified.ai. Would you call it a sales enablement tool for large organizations and regulated industries to train their teams?
We call sales training software. The enablement solutions all claim to do some level of training, but they're good at the content side. And we're very focused on the effectiveness side, so sales effectiveness.
Yeah, well, it's a really interesting product. And what's really interesting in a conversation we wanted to dive into today is how you're actually bringing it to market, right? Being an AI-enabled software application, selling to sales teams, and just taking a really modern approach. A lot of people are having challenges with AI search optimization, product-led motions, and evangelization of their products. You guys have done so pretty successfully over the last 5 years. I'm curious to hear about your methodologies, strategies, and actual tactics for getting this thing out to the world. But thank you for joining us. You're also best-selling author, TED talker, former Wall Street analyst, MBA from Kellogg. Like, you've got heck of a track list, Noah. So I'm expecting something impressive.
I appreciate it. And I will tell you, nothing is harder than trying to sell AI. If there's a list of challenges, that one's at the top.
Can you give us a little introduction on Quantified, why the business was founded, what problems you're solving, and a bit about the product?
Yeah, I started this business selfishly. So my background, as you said, is on Wall Street. I was really, really good at Microsoft Excel, doing a bunch of quantitative risk analysis. And that was really my only skill in life. I kind of caught myself and caught my future in a moment of introspection, Joey, and said, I don't know if I want to spend the rest of my life in Excel. I was really hungry to expand my skill set. And my father was an entrepreneur. He started a business in our living room. And I was just looking at his skill set and what he was doing relative to mine. And I was like, he leads people, inspires, motivates, builds teams and companies. And I'm, sitting there filling in spreadsheets. And I was like, I want those skills. So I tried to go to business school and get them there. And turns out really all they taught me in business school was some theory behind the spreadsheets I was filling out. Selfishly, I was like, I got to go get these skills. So I tried to hire coaches. A lot of the coaches had improv backgrounds, right? So it felt real soft and opinion-based. I don't see a solution out there to take someone like me and mold me into the leader I wanted to be. So I started Quantified to bring together two things. One was proven hard scientific research around what makes someone stand out when doing human interaction. And two is bringing that to market with technology. I just wanted to democratize it. I didn't want it to be this thing that was just for super expensive C-suite leaders. Tech plus behavioral science is the foundation for the company. We've evolved like every tech company. It's pivoted a few times since then, but the founding story is a selfish one.
So you're clearly incubated in the age of emerging technology by looking at your backdrop here.
Yes, I was brought up around computers, so it was hard for me to avoid that.
I was reading your post about why or why not MBAs make excellent entrepreneurs that you wrote a couple of months. Could you give some color on that? A lot of MBAs go to school, get great methodology, working strategy, join massive organizations, have a big imprint at the upper echelon of businesses, but you've been able to put together a team of really talented MBAs, entrepreneurs. And what's your sort of working ideology on that, if we could start there?
Yeah, I loved getting an MBA, right? I was fortunate to go to Kellogg, picked Kellogg because I thought it was the most well-rounded organization. I really wanted to learn marketing and sort of the go-to-market stuff. And so the reason I picked the school over schools Wharton that are more finance focused was because I wanted to round out my general manager skill set. My struggle with MBAs is we are often entitled. You go to a program and they just teach you how to be a leader, and then you leave and you're like, well, I'm a leader now. The truth is, leadership comes from a lot of experiences, a lot of mistakes. Having been a CEO now for over 10 years, I have just made so many mistakes. I've run into so many walls, Joey, that life lesson is so much better than what they can teach you theoretically or even in a case method at a business school. That said, MBAs are really smart. And once they figure out that the skill set they have from business school is more theoretical, and if they can figure out how to get that applied knowledge, they can be phenomenal business leaders. So I don't overlook them. In fact, I think a lot of them, once they do that level of introspection and awareness, and some of them do that during 2 years of business school, they can be phenomenal. And so we've been lucky to have a bunch of them at our organization. And I think once they understand themselves and the market a little bit better, they're great.
I love to hear it. What we're going to talk about today is modern go-to-market strategies for AI vendors. Taking an AI tool to market is very tough. There's a lot of noise out there. People don't necessarily always understand the back end of the technology. People don't always understand how to apply it. People are maybe defensive, maybe just averse to change as people naturally are for any new technology solution. I think what most are seeing is the benefits, right? When an application is applied correctly, it can be dramatic from a efficiency standpoint, from an ROI standpoint, from a organizational standpoint, and changing business processes and workflows. Maybe let's just set the foundation. How do you think about go-to-market sort of as a player in this modern AI-enabled tool set space? How did you experiment with go-to-market in the earliest days of Quantified and figure out the right type of route or blend of routes to go for you?
Great question. So we've been, we bought an AI domain in 2018. So that probably represents how long we've been thinking about this. We started using generative AI, which is where this hype cycle was built from, when it was GPT-2. So back in like 21, 22, way before ChatGPT was released. ChatGPT was sort of the moment where the market became aware and where the hype cycle started to build. The sales strategies we've run have had to be in response to the market demand. And it's been really interesting to watch that evolve over time. The attention on AI has been consistent since November of 22 when ChatGPT was released. But in 23, almost every conversation we had where people were saying, I need to bring AI into my organization. And you'd ask them why. And they said, I don't know, the CEO just tells me I got to go bring something in. And we really struggled to be successful in a sales motion in those conversations because there wasn't really a problem to be solved other than we want to be an early adopter of AI so we can position around that. And it's hard to build a product that solves that problem, Joey. You can.
Was it like a sense of FOMO? Like people were scared that they were going to miss out on some unforeseen growth?
I don't know if it was FOMO as much as it was everyone. A lot of CEOs, they're smart and they're doing research and they want to be early adopters. They said, we're going to be one of the first companies to adopt AI. And so we want to bring it in. Can y'all help us? And we're not an AI development agency, right? But in some ways they wanted us to be. And they were just like, can you do anything that'll help us and sort of check this box? And so 23 was a really tough year. 24, we started to see that change. And we started to see people become a lot more aware of specific things that AI can do to solve real problems. And so a lot of what we have done as a company is really stress less the hype and more the results. When you have these specific set of problems, here are the results we can help you create. And we're confident in those. We believe we can deliver those. This is not an empty promise. We have really focused on the proof points to say that when you've identified having this problem, we're really good at helping you with it. In some ways, we have narrowed our approach to we kind of weed out the people that are doing research, the people that have this big AI agenda. And we're really saying, we're going to solve a specific problem uniquely and innovatively with AI. That approach has caused us to take a much more focused enterprise sales motion where we know who to target and when the conversation is high quality. Our conversion there is really high. When we hear the word research, we try to avoid those conversations.
Is it a sales-led approach? Is it a product-led? Is it simple evangelism of the content and ROI that you're able to showcase to organizations, or a blend of all three that you're prioritizing?
We're about 50% sales led, 50% inbound, right? And so we've really gotten smart about how to qualify the inbound leads and make sure that they're a good fit for our organization. We target a few verticals for a variety of reasons, but 50% sales led, 50% marketing, or about 40% marketing, 10% referral is our mix now. A lot of it is we have figured out the people that have the specific problems. We stay away from the AI researchers and developers. We stay away from, the folks that just look like they're sort of exploring this at an organizational level. We want to find the people where we know we can solve a real painful problem for them.
Yeah. Well, I know from our previous conversations with you and your VP of marketing, Russ, he had some really interesting points about how you guys are driving inbound through research. Potential buyers are doing research on what tools can be beneficial to their organization for whatever use case versus the old search model, right?
Yeah.
Which is driving leads through AI-enabled search functions or research functions like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini, et cetera, right? Which prioritize different things as opposed to Google searches and optimizing SEO and trying to get the top of the rankings or the front of the first search page, right? How have you theorized around that? How have you executed on that? And what sort of tactical elements have you put into place to advance that agenda?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to watch. I'd say over the last quarter, about 45% of our leads have come directly from AI models. That is people putting in prompts saying, we are doing research. We want to bring in sales training software. We want to bring in AI role play software. Who do you recommend we talk to? And 45% of our leads have come directly from the AI models, Gemini, OpenAI, Perplexity. And it's really
Incredible.
interesting. Yeah. And so part of the traditional demand gen playbook is you do SEO. And so what we are doing and what Russ, who leads our marketing efforts, is really focused on is GEO. This is generative engine optimization. And this is where you're trying to actually feed the models with data that they can ingest with, text information that make you look good within the AI models so you can show up in those results. The traditional way that software was bought was asking community and friends and then doing web research. Now that research, instead of search, you're doing research with an AI model. We really want to position ourselves well and authentically to get that level of lead flow. We've been pretty successful there.
How do you actually do that? I mean, is it just simply the content that you're producing? Is it a specific type of content? I can give
So
the sort of the example of a lot of people utilizing AI to fuel SEO type marketing engagements, which almost kind of deteriorates from the GEO type stuff that you're doing. The
exactly, yeah.
generative engines are not going to prompt some sort of article or research that it did for itself because that's coming from another source, which is just really redundant and wacky. It seems like kind of a quick fix that falls off a cliff really rapidly. But you guys have gotten around that, obviously, by being a meaningful vendor and showcasing an actual level of success. How do you do that tactically?
Yeah. A few years ago, we did what a lot of startups do. We hired a demand gen agency. We told them we need their help writing content. A lot of what they do is they say, okay, what are the keywords that come up in search? They're going to write a bunch of content that, it doesn't stuff those keywords, but it stuffs those keywords. And so it's a lot of low value content that uses the right keywords. So you show up in the search results and then you use one of those tools to see your search rank. That does not work for the AI models, right? They are not built to ingest that type of content because it's low value content. And so a lot of what you have to do instead is write much higher value content that the models would use for training. Now, the models are going to ingest a ton of stuff, but they're going to evaluate authority and quality of the content in a very different way than a search engine because they actually are trying to say, I just need to give Joey a couple real high value lines that either summarize this or that are more likely to solve his question, from a transformer model perspective. And so 10 years ago, someone told me, hey, Noah, you got to stop writing content for humans and start writing it for Google. A couple years ago, Russ and I came to the conclusion that we got to start writing content for the AI models, right? It's no longer write the content for Google, it's write the content for the AI models. And you got to understand how they work, how they're trained, what's going to surface yourself as one of the recommended options, and how do you do that? One of the things, they're really good at text, right? So video, you got to transcribe it. You got to have text everywhere because that's what they're trained off of more prevalently than, audio or video. And then you got to really write higher quality content, right? I mean, they're not going to look for keyword stuffing and they're just going to weed that out of any of the training materials.
Is it quantifiable content? Is it story built kind of analysis? Does something work better than others, or is it a mix of all of it?
We have found that two things work really well. One is research-based content. So where you're really actually going out and researching your target audience about, what do you do? What problems do they have? How do you solve those problems? And you're really presenting that in depth. So a little bit longer form, actual research-based content. The second thing is case studies. It is proof points, right? And it is not, here's a bunch of promises or here's a bunch of hype. It's interesting because the AI models actually index those results and parrot those results back when you do the search. We have found that research reports and case studies have been the two things, and really focusing on text and then the way that you mark up that content So the model, it's very model friendly when it comes to training.
Yeah. What led you to even experiment with this in the first place? Were there certain signals you were looking for and that others should look for to say that now is the time to optimize for that, versus being able to wait? Or was it just intuition that you knew this market was going this way by being a player in the space?
As a CEO, I'm dangerous because I have a lot of opinions, and some of them are pretty strongly held. I got great advice from a really good marketing demand gen guy named Nate Pruitt a few years ago. He said, Noah, your CEO intuition is not going to be great for marketing because you just see what you see and what you care about. So he said, study lead sources. Like, go study where the lead comes from. Try to get the earliest moment of attribution with every single lead that comes in. And so, I mean, what happened, Joe, was we started to see leads come in from AI models. And we're like, that's kind of weird, right? This was before the model, like, Perplexity and Google were doing a lot of web search models, but we started to see
Yeah.
leads come in directly from the model. And we said, this is a new thing, right? This is not a lead coming in from Google or a lead coming in from direct search. So we just started saying, if this is a source, do we think this will be more of a source going forward? There's not a ton of like great thought leadership about GEO yet. Like there's a few
Yeah.
folks that are talking about it, but it's still a pretty early adopter thing. I think it's an opportunity for people to adopt something that's new and innovative and differentiated. And that's what we try to do.
How has that changed the way that you've constructed your go-to-market teams from a human capital standpoint? I think the obvious answer is a lot of people think this means much more lean teams. We don't need as many salespeople. We definitely don't need as many marketers because they can do this functional work in a much shorter period of time and do it more efficiently with less capital spend, resources, which are generally at the top of the P&L for most folks, right? How has that changed your ideology around how you develop the human part of it inside your organization?
Yeah, we probably did two things. One, we let go of that demand gen agency. We had to bring our content in-house because we said that if they're not going to have enough knowledge about what we do and specific
Yeah.
customer results, then we've got to bring this in-house. We develop our own content now. We honestly develop a lot less than we used to, right? I mean, we used to do, 2 or 3 SEO focused posts a week, and now it's, maybe one, higher level content post every week or two. And so, we've changed a lot of the execution of that. The second thing that we did is I brought in a marketing leader who's much more of a storyteller and much more concerned with our broad reputation than some of the previous demand gen tactics like paid search, because we see better results from focusing on a strategy that's more AI focused and AI first. Not surprisingly, people looking to buy AI are going to take an AI first approach to their sales process. We're meeting the market where it is. We use GPTs for a lot of our build. We try to do everything we can with AI and match that to the market in our sales approach. It impacts inbound a lot more than outbound. Some of the stuff we do on outbound is AI driven as well, but really on what we're talking about, an AI approach to higher quality content would be the shorthand answer I'd give you.
It's really interesting because in this AI led buying cycle, the only thing it can't optimize for is other AI sources that are fueling it. So it almost puts more emphasis on the quality of the people and their ideas and creativity to be able to fuel those large language models with the right research and right prompts to be able to have you guys, I guess, be showcased in the right light. Does that sound consistent with what you think?
It is consistent, right? And that really starts at the top with who we hire. In our job specs, we ask a question. It's really hard to hire right now because everyone is doing their resumes and LinkedIn and cover letters with AI. And so
Yeah.
we ask everyone to answer one question, which is tell us about a recent project you did with AI and the results you got. We are hiring early adopters of AI and people that believe AI is their coworker and friend because that's the way we want to function.
I love that question. Any really good or really poor responses that you've had for that?
Half of the responses are literally verbatim the same. And so
Really?
people are actually taking that question and prompting it into the model and saying, give me a good example to include in my cover letter. The AI gives its best example, and it is the same across 50% of candidates. We just weed those people out because they're not giving us a real answer.
Crazy.
It is crazy, but people forget that what they're doing is not that unique. We know then who's actually answering it authentically. The ones who I love are the ones that are willing to say, hey, I was hitting my head against a wall trying to do this. I tried this in 3 different ways. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't work. And here's the results. Some of them are great successes. And some of them are honestly, I struggle with this and could never actually figure it out because the technology is not there yet. But the ones that are thoughtful about it and the ones that demonstrate a willingness to sort of play with new technology are our favorite answers. What we're testing for there is not actually, how much experience do you have? Have you used the most modern models in the craziest way with the highest context windows? We're testing for can you talk about this stuff? And are you fundamentally curious about it? Because it is a big part of how we sell.
Yeah, so it's just really amplifying and double down on the qualifications of the human-led aspects of a candidate, which it seems obvious, but these cycles are so high and low and quick nowadays. So many people have fallen victim to just optimizing with AI and forgetting about the uniqueness of their qualities, right? To be able to set them apart and actually be beneficial to an AI-led organization. What about your sales-led approach? How are you guys using AI to enable and advance that?
Yeah, so we really use it in, I'd probably say 3 different ways, right? One is on the prospecting side, that old predictable revenue playbook is just not working. A lot of what we are focused on as an AI first company is quality. We are trying to do research. We are trying to look for the right person that we want to talk to and do really high quality strategic outreach to them. We know what you're going through. We are aware of these problems. Here's a solution we have, and here's how other peers have gotten value out of that solution. We want the outbound reach to be valuable enough to them that they learn something. And it's not just, hey, Joey, I want to talk to you because, I think you'd like my product. We're actually really trying to fundamentally do intelligent research about our targets. So the first way that we use AI is on the prospecting side. I would say it's mostly on the research of the prospecting side. Second thing that we do is within our sales process, we really try to continue doing a lot of fundamental intelligent research. We want to be value add at every single touch point. And so, when we think about call preparation, pitch preparation, or an RFP or something like that, we try to take a posture of let's go in and be, sort of AI first and intelligent with the way we interact with our customers. Those customer conversations are so valuable that we want to be prepared. The third thing that we do, and this won't surprise you because it's what our company does and we love our product, is every single person that talks to customers has to be certified and does a ton of practice of those conversations using our own platform. Quantified is an AI role play software. We believe salespeople can be remarkably more effective if they do a little practice, like sports or music or whatever analogy you want to use. And so all of our reps regularly certified, regularly practicing, and not surprisingly in an AI space, Joey, we see a new competitor every week, right? And it's, oftentimes, right, you're on a call and someone says, have you heard of this company? Or how do you compare to this company? Traditionally in sales, you'd build a battle card and ask everybody to memorize it. We have people practice what they say against that competitor. Those are the types of things that we do with AI in our sales process.
There's this old sort of methodology that I think is traditionally put into the professional services world that I even sort of play in, right? Which is the idea of the trusted advisor type sales motion, right? Where people are buying on trust. Trust is comprised of 2 elements, credibility and reliability, right?
Yep.
And credibility is the content you're producing, the showcase of your expertise, the accreditations that you have, the case studies that you have, the quantifiable ROIs you can give to something. And then reliability is doing what you said you were going to do and actually implementing that. It's really interesting to see. That's been something that's guided me through professional services sales, right? As a executive search consultant, right? Or headhunter, as some would say, over many years. But that ideology is blending closer and closer into product sales as people are wanting to showcase a level of expertise and advisory or consultant type approach, right? Or demonstrated knowledge, even when they're selling products, right? Which are tangible or digital, which is really interesting to see that motion sort of blend together much more cohesively.
Yeah, I posted this morning about selling in the age of distrust because, look, we have a competitor. I won't name their name, but they overpromise in so many different ways, and they're good at marketing. When we have a lead from a competitive set and they've talked to that company first, that company has videos of their product that aren't real. People try a demo and they're like, well, this isn't as good as what you showed me on the website. They come in and they're so skeptical. So much of what we have to do is actually build trust. It's not necessarily our fault that people don't trust us, but when it comes to selling AI products, people are highly skeptical of the promises being made. We experience that challenge. We have to deal with that challenge. And, some of the stuff that you spoke about with credibility and creating a sense of, HBR wrote a great article and they called it sense making. They actually said a salesperson's job is no longer to give you the information or show you the product. If I understand your problem, I want to help you make sense of what you can do to solve that problem. It's a really nice frame of reference to think about when selling now.
Yeah, I love to hear it. Anything else exciting happening at Quantified? Anything we can shout about product advancements, certain things in the market you guys are doing, or just your general closing statements around how people can utilize something like this to advance their emotions or do what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I love that we talked about GEO for marketing leaders getting smart about generative search optimization and what that means in the future. I think we're going to move from search to research. Optimizing the way that you are found in that research is a smart thing to do. The second thing I would really encourage everybody to do, and we have a lot of enterprise customers that are really smart about this, there's a level of security that people should look for when they buy AI products. A lot of people fundamentally trust the APIs, the enterprise APIs, but a lot of what we've been focused on is not exposing any customer information at all on the training side. I would encourage people as they go out and buy this technology, ask the vendors you are working with if they use your data for training. And unfortunately, you will be shocked at the answer. Oftentimes they will say something to you like, at the price point we gave you, your data actually does go into training. But if you want to pay twice as much, we will protect your data from training. A lot of what we are focused on, again, back to the conversation you and I have had about trust, is in our product, we are very, very focused on not exposing any information to an LLM. We train our own models and run those locally because we know enterprise customers refuse to accept any risk about what you might do with their data. A lot of companies are making false or empty promises when it comes to the security and the way they submit people's information to the models.
I think a lot of people got pretty shell-shook about that just in the recent weeks with the whole DeepSeek ordeal, right? What are the consequences of an organization that might not take those kind of protections that you guys are doing?
The thing that used to keep everybody up at night is data breaches, right? Customer information would be released. The risk is not actually on the data breach side, it's the data information leakage, right? If somebody is submitting customer information, that prompt, whatever you feed it with, let's say you say, here's my case studies or here's my internal study, that's going to go into training and other companies will have access to it. And so that's highly risky. Right? Do not submit company information to the models unless you want it to be ingested and used. That's the risk. There are companies that are really thinking about making that process secure. I would encourage everybody, as we all buy AI sales tech, ask that question. It's worth asking.
Where can the people find you? Where can they learn more about Quantified? What can we do to serve that up?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Noah Zandan. You can find us at Quantified.ai. Happy to talk. I love this stuff. Part of my job leading an AI company is to be on the forefront of research and exploration. We try to be forward thinking for other folks doing this type of work or research. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm an open book.
You definitely have done that and showed a level of pedigree that I really haven't seen and something so many people are curious about. So really appreciate you sharing your thoughts on this. What you guys are building is excellent and you're doing it in a really innovative and modern way that's clearly showing a lot of success. So thank you for giving us some of those thoughts, Noah.
No, really appreciate you bringing it to light and just encourage everybody out there, the more you can be an early adopter of this stuff, but also find what works and what doesn't work. It's such a smart superpower for go-to-market leaders to adopt.
Phenomenal. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. This is another of the Go-to-Market Kickback and be back again. Thanks so much.